Odds are you've tried to create a habit and 21 days shows up and it's still not a habit. 60 days shows up, you still don't have that habit you're looking for. 90 days shows up, it's still really difficult. You're still using a lot of energy and there's no habit. So what is that about? We've been told that it takes 21 to 90 days to create a habit, but when we go over 90 days, what's up with that? In this episode, we're going to talk about the habit myth and how long it actually takes to create a real habit. And by the end of this episode, you will have a framework, a little tool that you can use in creating your own habit. All right, you guys, so before we jump into things, if you are looking for a therapist or a coach to help you overcome pornography and put it behind you for the rest of your life, you can go ahead and schedule a free consultation with me down in the description. Okay, so here's the overview for today. We're first going to talk about the myth. We're going to deconstruct the myth, why everything you've been told about the 21-day rule is simply just a clinical misunderstanding. Then we can go into what you can expect with pornography addiction when it comes to habits and what that looks like. And then we'll go into the cumulative consistency framework. There we go. Which is dismantling the perfection trap, why a single missed day doesn't affect your neurobiology, and how to actually implement the never miss twice rule. And then we'll go into part 4, which is the interactive architecture worksheet, which is designing your personal habit loop using precise environmental triggers and friction management. So first, deconstructing the myth, okay, the origin story. The cultural belief that it takes 21 days to form a habit stems from a 1960 self-help book from a plastic surgeon named Dr. Maxwell Maltz. He noticed that it took facial reconstruction amputation patients an average of 21 days to psychologically adjust to their new physical appearance. So this was never a neurological study on behavioral automation. Yet the self-help industry repeated it until it became accepted as absolute law, which is kind of funny. And so we see this a lot with things, right? Like based off of studies, people they latch on, they like the results, they latch on to them and kind of sculpt them to how they want it to fit a specific niche or whatever it is. And so that's what happens with this whole habit formation community. We can thank Mr. Maxwell for this. Appreciate you, Max. I'm sure it's a great book. I'm sure it really is when it comes to plastic surgery. Heck yeah. Habits? Maybe not. I don't know. So let's jump into the real timeline. Modern research from the University College London, University College London, all right, reveals that habit formation is a highly fluid process. When tracking individuals attempting to automate a single day healthy behavior, researchers found a massive variance in how long it took to achieve peak automaticity, which is the point where an action requires zero conscious willpower. Similar to, look at a habit you have right now, like driving, right? Odds are you don't have to think really hard about like when to put down the gas, when to put down the brakes. You kind of just do it, right? So how long does it take for us to get to that point when it comes to forming a habit? In this study, the average, it took 66 days to automate a current behavior. On the full spectrum, true habit formation took anywhere from 18 to 254 days. 254. Okay, how long is that? That's like 8 months, which is insane. And so you have the complexity variable, which is a simple habit, like drinking a glass of water, might lock in after 18 days, right? That's pretty simple. But a highly complex habit like packing a bag, driving to a gym, and doing a 45-minute difficult workout routinely takes hundreds of days of conscious friction between the brain's autopilot, or before the brain's autopilot starts to take over. So how does all of this relate to pornography? When it comes to porn, you don't just stop the habit, right? You have to create a new one over the top of it. So breaking the habit of porn and introducing a new one is not considered a simple habit like drinking a glass of water. Dude, I wish it was. I wish it was, right? 18 days, no more porn? Frick yeah. This, like pornography, dude, when it comes to like breaking the habit of pornography, it's a life-altering habit, right? Because odds are this has probably been in your life for over a decade. And so it can be really difficult. And it's also likely, okay, listen closely here, it's also likely that it won't even take 90 days to fully get rid of this habit. I want you to start to reset your expectations and plan on it to take hundreds of days. What's crazy is there have been a couple studies that show it can take up to 180 days for all of your dopamine receptors to come back in full strength. Remember, I did an episode, I forget what it is, which one it was, a couple episodes back about the D2 receptors, right? Those receptors, generally with pornography, go away. Not all of them. A lot of them go away though. And it can take 180 days for all of them to come back. Obviously, there's a bunch of variants when it comes to just individuals and how long you've been using pornography, your frequency of pornography, all of those things. But for you, it could take 180 days, which means that life could feel a little dull for an entire 6 months. So there's no get rich or get rich quick. There's no get recovered quick pitch here. The secret is in this next part, which is the cumulative consistency framework. So in therapy, okay, in my therapy office, the difference between those who see success in recovery and those who don't is consistency. I always like to say there are two silver bullets in recovery: time and consistency. Generally, those are two things that people don't want to hear, right? But it's what's required. That's the reality of recovery. So if those two things don't seem possible to you, I want you to sit with that for a while and really ask yourself, what am I willing to do to become the person I want? And how far am I willing to go? So as far as the consistency framework goes, this is important to know. A single missed day does not reset your entire progress or wipe your brain's hard drive. There's a bunch of data that shows that missing an isolated opportunity has a negligible impact on long-term habit formation. Automation is driven by the density of your repetitions, not an unbroken streak. So automation, really, your brain only cares about you being consistent over a period of time, which is that density, okay, time. It doesn't look at, so if you start Monday or you're in the middle of a week, okay, Monday, Tuesday, you do your habit. Wednesday, you don't. Your brain doesn't look at that and see, oh my gosh, I got to restart. I got to start over. We missed a day. That's not how it works. On Thursday, if you then double down and you do that habit again, or you do that behavior you're trying to turn into a habit, that's what matters. So the true danger of a missed day isn't neurological, it's psychological, right? This is an emotional downward spiral. The emotional downward spiral is what causes people to quit entirely. Okay, now we're going to go over a specific framework that you can use when it comes to creating a habit. So specifically with pornography, right, you want to think, what is the exact habit you are looking to build? Define it with extreme precision. So as an example, a weak example of a target behavior would be, I want to read more. A stronger one would be, I'll read 5 pages of my book today. Okay, so you put your target behavior. Second is you want to anchor to an environmental anchor. The brain automates loops based on contextual stability. So you want to tie your habit to a reliable existing trigger that happens every single day. So the formula would be immediately after blank, you choose your existing daily anchor, I will blank. And one thing you can do with this as well is tie this to your urges, right? Depending on how frequently you get those urges. If your urges are maybe like once a month and you don't watch porn a bunch, then that might not be what you want to tie it to. But if you are having urges every day, multiple times a day, or every other day, it can be really helpful to tie your habit tie your new behavior to the urges, right? When I get an urge, I'm going to do blank. You then want to apply the friction. So your brain is always going to choose the path of least resistance. So you have to alter your physical environment ahead of time so your brain defaults into the habit without thinking. So with the reading book example, you can place the book directly on top of the coffee maker the night before, right? So it's right there. You don't have to go into the other room and get the book. So let me tell you, I've been trying to spend less time on social media. And so what I've done with my Instagram is, you know how on your Apple you can put your apps in a like little folder, right? And then you can put pages in the folder. So I put all of my social media apps in a little folder. And with Instagram specifically, that was my bane. I put it in the folder and then put it on the second page. So in order for me to actually go to Instagram, I would have to click into the folder and swipe a page and then click Instagram. And let me tell you, my screen time for Instagram over the past couple days, over the past couple weeks actually, has been 0 minutes on Instagram. And I just generally default to YouTube because YouTube's on the first page, which if I wanted to stop YouTube, I would put YouTube on the second page. So you want to do these little things that make it harder to engage in the behavior that you're trying to stop, right? So with pornography, what can you do? Like, what does that look like in your life? Is it filters on your phone? Is that helpful? Is it putting your phone in another room? Like, there are a bunch of things that you can do. So I want you to think about that one. It's not going to be the same for everybody. And then you have to implement the never miss twice rule. An isolated miss is just a bump in the road. 2 consecutive misses is a birth of a destructive habit. So you want to write out a binding rule for how you're going to handle a chaotic day when your routine gets disrupted. So it would sound something like this. My fail-safe commitment. If I'm forced to miss my habit on a specific day due to unavoidable chaos, I will explicitly grant myself permission to let it go with 0 guilt. However, I commit to treating the very next day as a non-negotiable window to reestablish the baseline. So you guys, for habits, it comes down to consistency and time. You have to be consistent over a period of time. Those are the silver bullets. Like, that is it. There's no, I'm going to recover from porn in 20 days type thing. That doesn't exist. That really doesn't. Maybe for marketing, that would sound really cool, really good. And maybe for a couple hooks and some videos, you might hear that from me. But then in the video, I'm going to tell you that's actually not possible. It's all about consistency and time. So have some patience for yourself. Stop looking for a 21-day exit ramp. Embrace the reality that rewiring your brain takes time. So expect the friction and focus purely on things like your environmental cues, things like urges, and protect the day after a miss. Consistency is built on systems, not calendars. So what you need to do is find a system that works for you and stick with it. That's the secret. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you in the next video.